So, well, here we are. It's a new expansion, and I'm noticing a distinct lack of fanfare. I think this has been the weirdest launch I've ever seen, because there's just this lack of hype. Normally, there's a community feeling where everyone's coming together and everyone is ready. Everybody cannot wait for the clock to tick over to that last minute, and everybody's going to jump in. There's been already a lot of debate. I'm sure you've seen videos talking about it, but this time they handled things a little differently with a early access version. The base expansion costs $50, but if you get the $90 version, that gives you 3 days. Now, I know that there's technically other things in that version, so it's not just $40 for the 3 days, but that's how a lot of people are framing it, because people seem to see those 3 days early access as the biggest value in the box. I don't look down on anyone who bought the early access. I don't think that makes you a mindless consumer. I don't mind that you enjoy something so much you want to pay more for it. Get all the extra mounts and toys and Hearthstone and all those perks and get in as soon as possible. I think that's fine. I understand it. I don't look down on anyone who didn't buy it. I don't think you're poor. You're playing a video game that you pay a monthly subscription for. I know you have the money. If you made the decision to not throw an extra $40 tip at a giant company, I think that's very understandable. Personally, I did not buy the early access version, but really it's like in those 3 days, frankly, I was a little busy and I wouldn't want to, there's no way I could have made time to play it anyways. So even if I did, I wouldn't have gotten that value. And I find it very interesting how divisive this became, but really what stuck to me more was how odd the launch was. It didn't feel like the early access people celebrated. It just kind of like, okay, let's get to work. And people wanted to make the most of those 3 days to maybe justify it to themselves why they spent so much for only 3 days. And by the time the actual launch happened, it's like, oh, well, all my friends are already level 80. So whatever, I guess I'll start now. Oh, the official Twitter already spoiled story cutscenes, so, I know this part coming up here, yeah. Oh yeah, wow. So, I don't know, I'm sure that the dollars will justify them doing it again for the next expansion. I'm certain we're going to see a very similar early access element. It might work a little different, but I imagine it will be very similar. The thing that bothers me more than anything is early access started on a Thursday, and I believe it was, I don't know, I was watching Asmongold or someone stream it, and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, it looks really fun. I can't wait till when it's my turn. And a friend texts me, this is Friday afternoon, and he says, oh, dude, did the expansion come out already? And he didn't even know. Now, fast forward, it's Monday evening, and I'm thinking, boy, I can't wait till tomorrow and I can play. And I logged into WoW to do like some last-minute dailies and cleanup, and it turned out that I had access to the game, because in my time zone, that late in the day, it already started. So I even got to start a day earlier than I thought I would, which means even I wasn't even in the loop. I think there used to be a tradition of this community celebration. It was like counting down to midnight in Times Square, and now it's just sort of this very gradual, well, you get in when you get in, do it next week, who cares, it's bugged. I think it's very clear to me that the war within is not riling up a lot of passion. I'm not sure if you saw the numbers compared, but somebody went back to Dragonflight and they found the stream numbers, like maybe, what was it, like double? Maybe even more. Oh, I lost my picture. Oh no, all my data's gone. I can't prove my accusation. Anyways, a lot more people were watching on Twitch back when Dragonflight launched. And with War Within, they never got near the numbers. Even with the Twitch drop factored in, like you remove the Twitch drop, the numbers are still higher with Dragonflight. It was, it's very strange. I feel that announcing all 3 expansions at once deflated a lot of hype, because it kind of feels like, oh yeah, well, we're not even getting the full story. Like, we know for a fact right now that this is Act 1 of 3. So even if Act 1 ends satisfyingly, even if it is like Star Wars, and we can still look forward to Empire Strikes Back next, it's not going to feel complete. I don't know anyone that understands or cares about the story. The larger narrative, like the cosmic scale narrative with the Void and Illyria and Anduin. The number of relapsed fans that have reached out to me and said, hey, Radish, you follow Warcraft. Can you explain to me what Anduin's deal is? Why does he look like that? No one's, like, invested or excited or they want to see. It's just sort of like, oh, really? Why is Thrall back? So, I don't know. I went in a little underwhelmed, low expectations. I actually, a couple of weeks ago, I was planning a video where I was going to talk about how Dragonflight closed out. And because some real life stuff kind of got in the way, I ended up not making that video. But the bullet points I wanted to bring up was, I liked Dragonflight as an expansion. I think that it was very good. I think that it was fun and it felt like Warcraft. I thought the art design was good, mostly. The raids were fun. It was a good time. It felt like a break from the tedious elements of Shadowlands. But then the content drought period comes. And again, traditionally, when an expansion's over, there's like a lull period where there's no new content. We have to wait for the expansion. People are maybe catching up on old achievements, but maybe they're taking a break from the guild. Maybe they're stepping back from the game entirely. And to fill that time, Blizzard did a couple experimental things. We got Plunderstorm, which was a goofy minigame battle royale. And it was heavily themed, but also heavily removed from the game. It was a unique new character you make, just cosmetically real quick. Just pick whatever, it doesn't matter. And you play these like little one-off rounds. It was fun to unlock stuff that sticks to your account later. But I didn't feel invested in it because, the point of an RPG, especially in an MMO, is to kind of get attached to your character and progress. So just like making some random orc and just doing pirate stuff, and then I unlocked an orc hat. It's like, cool, whatever. I enjoyed it enough, but then Mists of Pandaria Remix came out, and I couldn't be bothered. I got to level, 10 or 20 to get the mount, and I realized I'm not having fun, and I stopped entirely. I've read on the subreddit people saying that Mop Remix is the best WoW has ever felt to them, and it's the most fun they've had in years. And I found it very interesting, because to me, Remix was antithetical to everything that makes an MMO special in the first place. With Remix, you are speedrunning. You are completely, ridiculously overpowering everything, and it hyper gamifies everything. And I found this especially ironic that they chose to do this with Pandaria, because all the NPCs always say, slow down. It's like, can we pick anywhere else to do this stupid, like, whatever. I get that it was experimental, and the point was to just kind of have fun with it. But for me, the reason that I log into World of Warcraft is the world. I want to explore it. I hate how expansions kind of shrink the world and like cut everything off onto just, there's one new island. All game content fits in this one little island. The whole rest of the world, no, you're never going to go there. Stick on this one little island. It's like, they don't feel like expansion packs. They are like shrinky packs. They're not expanding anything. So this was almost glorifying this weird compartmentalization of an expansion as its own unique, little side thing, rather than breathing life into the world. How to put it? I know that this is experimental, and frankly, I think it was a positive experiment because, again, a lot of people enjoyed it a lot, and a lot of people gave feedback that they want to see it come back, and Blizzard is doing a better job of listening lately. But frankly, it scared me because, especially looking at the War Within, or I'm abbreviating that to BFA 2. The war band system, where you get all this account-wide progress. I was worried that it goes one of two ways. Either all the rep is account-wide, but now rep takes 4 times as long to grind, because they're assuming that you're still going to be playing alts. Or everything is utterly trivialized, because now you just play the game on one character, and then you're done on your other characters. So far, and I know this is early in the expansion, neither of those things are true. I think that everything feels pretty good. The account-wide rep is a perk, but really, you do still need the gear. You do still need to do activities in the game to level up alts. But the tedium is removed. And it frankly frees you up to enjoy the world. I said that the story was kind of lame. I really hate the cutscenes. There are these little moments where they'll use in-game graphics and the in-game character models, and they will sometimes insert your character. So if you're in questing gear, it ruins the whole scene, which is very funny to me. I kind of like it, but I also find myself habitually using that toy to transmog myself like after every quest, because I don't know when my next photo shoot's going to be. But I just don't think these cutscenes work that great. I think sometimes you get these weird animations where the talk animation wasn't designed to be viewed this closely. It's designed for your camera very far away to talk to an NPC. So when it zooms in on someone's jaw dislocates because they're supposed to be making a sound and it's not at all lip synced, it's very odd. I think they're trying to do something like what Final Fantasy XIV does, but it just doesn't hit the same. And mechanically, it's not that far off, but realistically, it's not hitting the same. I don't like that at all. Meanwhile, there are these little RP moments. There's one I rather enjoyed where you buy a round of drinks for everybody and put them at a table while the characters are talking. And it just sort of felt like, it's a buzzword at this point, but it's immersive. That's the kind of stuff that I'm noticing a lot more. I'm also noticing there's a very old-fashioned sense to some of these side quests. I'm seeing a lot more where I actually want to read the text and see what happens next. I want to understand what these characters are doing or what they're going through. I know Dragonflight had a few notable side quests people talked about, but I feel like most of them were emotional heavy, and it was just kind of look at this one. You gotta if you see the dwarf sitting, make sure you sit next to that dwarf, and he's gonna talk. And there's a whole quest chain where it's just a character sits and talks, and he's reflective, and it's kind of this high school philosophy major thing, and everyone seemed to love that, and it was fine, but that seemed to be the only thing people talked about. With War Within, I've already seen people talking about, oh, that one quest over here. Oh, this one little side NPC character. Oh, man, you have to talk to her. Oh, look at this one. Oh, this might be my new favorite character. There's a lot more little, goofy toys. I don't know if you saw that. When you fish, you can get a rock. And it's, your best buddy. And the text, it talks about how special this rock is to you, and when you use it, you just show off to the world, and it's just your character holding out a rock that's your best friend. And that feels like the sense of humor that used to be in, Wrath of the Lich King. That used to be in Cataclysm. And it feels like World of Warcraft. It's the little things, and the vibe, really. And I don't know. I was pessimistic about the hero talents. Luckily, so far, everything feels good. I don't know that it's the most engaging system, but the upgrades I've been getting on my characters are notable. I'm not going to complain about their presence. It's not like the faction abilities you got in Shadowlands. What was it? The Covenant? The Covenant system was very frustrating more than anything else. With this, you can just pick what you want. There's only 2 choices that might feel limiting. It might upset the flavor a bit, depending on how you play your character. But also, if you really hate one, just pick the other one. It doesn't matter. They're both going to be good. They're both going to be upgrades. I don't know... Like, I could complain about nitpicky things, and I could list all the little things I really like. Soundtrack is very solid. I think the art design's great. I like all the zones. I really like the whole Kobold zone, but really, every area has something neat. Like, I'm looking forward to playing on my alts and taking my time in each one, and really getting used to all of it. Because there's a lot of little things to find. I very much like it. I want to talk a little bit about one of my interests. I am a very big theme park buff. I love Disneyland, I love Knott's Berry Farm, I love Universal Studios. I also love learning about parks that I'll probably never see, like far away, not just in the US, but there are amazing parks over in Germany a lot. There's some in Japan and China, and there's something just very fun about theme park stuff and theme park culture. And it's interesting to me because I'm a very big Disneyland fan, but I don't know that I'm necessarily a Disney fan. Like, I get a lot more excited about weird updates to the park rather than a new movie announcement. You know, like they said, we're going to get Frozen 3, and it's like, oh, I'm sure some child will like that. But then they say we're going to get a Frozen ride, and I want to know what the mechanics... I want to know, like, oh, what company are they contracting this out with? Oh, it's a boat ride. Oh, okay. That's what I get excited about. So, in that line of thought, I was thinking about how much I like these things, but kind of like data mining on Warcraft, I'll just watch videos of the, like, point of view ride on YouTube. And, like, they recently redid Splash Mountain to be Tiana's Bayou Adventure themed, to do the Princess and the Frog aesthetic. And I watched a handy cam video of it, and it's like, okay, cool, I get it, I understand it. And I move on, and I basically did not give Disneyland money for that. But I'm still a fan. You know, once in a while, I do go to the park, and I want to experience it myself. But what I want to experience, it's not so much magic. Like, I'm not a little child and I think that's really Mickey Mouse. I'm not a little child and I think that I'm really in danger when the giant snake attacks me and Indiana Jones tells me I have to duck or something. But I love robots. I love the vibe. I love the aesthetic. I love the romance of the idea of what the park is supposed to represent. And what I find myself doing often is, if I do go to the parks, I spend time finding a nice place to just people watch. You know, when I'm waiting in line, I love to see what other people are doing. I love to see that there's like a happy family and the little, you know, Junior has a grin ear to ear. I love seeing, you know, a happy couple and they're doing their anniversary photos or something. But I also love to see the immersive quality. Like, it's a form of escapism to go to Planet Batu and buy a Ronto wrap, and there's a droid, you know, rolling it along, and I just kind of like, oh, this is really fun, but it feels like logging into SWTOR. In a lot of ways, World of Warcraft is a theme park to me, not just because it's a, quote, theme park MMO, but it's the escapism of the world. I want the world to feel like it's a place, and not just a current level on a video game. And everything about the War Within's zones feel like a part of the world. They feel like a place. And it's very fun to get lost there. Now, back to Disneyland. They keep raising prices. Right now, if I wanted to go, I think it's like $150. That's not counting parking. If you park at a hotel, that's not counting that they now charge you for the bus from the hotel to the park. That used to be covered, now they nickel and dime you on that. That's not counting the Fast Pass system on the phone app. You have to pay in order to check in for rides early. That's not counting, any of the other little things that are going to come up on a vacation. But also that list of things keeps getting longer. Even hardcore Disney fans have been pointing out, boy, this is getting too expensive. Like, how is a family supposed to afford this? And yet, they sell out tickets. The perks are full. Everyone complains that it costs too much and no one can handle this, but there's still enough people that are willing to pay it. So there's no reason to lower the prices, because that would just make the crowds harder to manage. Now, what that means is, I want to say the target demographic when Disneyland was made was to be a place where families could take their little kids and have fun. Did you know opening day, the entrance for Disneyland cost $1? It was $1 exactly. Now you had to buy like a packet of ride tickets, and so you basically paid per ride, and that's where the term like e-ticket comes from, because that was like the higher value ticket. But it's just very strange thinking like, oh yeah, let's just take the kids down to Disneyland, and if I didn't want to go on any rides, I could pay $1 and just go there for the atmosphere. I could buy an ice cream or a churro, and I could sit on Main Street and listen to the band, and it's like, boy, this is everything I love. I'm recharged, I feel better. Versus now, I have to look at my... I have to balance my checkbook around it and think, boy, I don't think I'm going this year. I used to go practically annually. And even now, it's like, oh, I might go once every 5 years at this rate. There's a weird quality where it's like, part of me understands the business reality of it. But also, now someone else has to stand up and make their own park where families can afford to go. And it's kind of depressing that we're in this cycle. World of Warcraft is a little bit like that, where it's now part of the Microsoft conglomerate. And someone's going to look at the pre-order bonuses on the $90 edition, and they're going to be asking, why don't we raise the subscription price? It's just, there's enough hardcore fans. There's enough people that are in love with this because it's their personality. They met their, they met the love of their life in WoW. They've spent the best days of their youth in WoW, and they just want to return to it. It doesn't matter. It's just kind of a thing that now is established, and it feels too big to fail right now. Blizzard's been actively trying to choke out Warcraft for the past 4 expansions, and they have not succeeded. It might be a lifeless corpse, but the corpse is still the shape of Warcraft, and people keep putting money in it. So, as I'm playing, I'm finding myself noting the little details, the polish, the good writing on the side quests, the jokes, the sense of humor, and the beautiful music and the beautiful artistry and the thoughtful class balance. And it's like, boy, they really did a better job this time. And yet, there's no back-of-the-box features. There's not really a reason to play it unless you already care. And this works for a little bit, but they have to either bring in new blood or really milk the dedicated people that are still here. Back when I was younger, I would go to CompUSA, and I would pick up these big boxes, and they had all these back-of-the-box features. I don't think there's anything I could put on the World Within expansion pack that is worth putting on the back of the box. It's like war bands. It's okay. That feels like a toggle someone turned on. Hero talents. What does that even mean? It just means that if you're a warrior, you can choose to hit things harder. It's not a selling point. The Earthen playable race. It's neat to have a new playable race, but when it's just a recolored one that already exists, and is also, even though they promised they would be, they're not available at launch, you have to wait a week still, it sours it a little bit. I know we'll get over it. A month from now, no one will even remember this period where we didn't have Earthen unlocked yet. But it's like, you can't even put that on the back of the box because it's not available at launch. And then what even is the launch? There's this weird window where you may or may not have access to it and no one really knows. It's just so different than how games used to be, and I kind of want that nostalgic quality. I do like it. I am guilty. But part of me just kind of wonders what actually happens next. What decisions are going to be made about the next expansion? Are we going to see back-the-box features, or are we going to see even less zones, even less dungeons, even less talents? Are they going to just recolor humans and say, look, they are the sun beings. They get their star power from the sun, and it's just like a yellow-tinted human with, like, celestial eyes. It's just, it's too early for me to give a full review of The World Within. I don't even feel comfortable giving a review of my first day's impressions, because, frankly, I don't know that my first impressions are reflective of the average player, because every player came in with very different circumstances. So far, I'm happy. I'm happier than I thought I would be. I look forward to finishing this edit so I can just hop right back on and play more. I made a couple new friends in a little guild that's starting up, and it's like, oh boy, you know, I want to meet new people. I want to share stories. I want to hear their stories. I want to hop on, and we're going to level alts in a dungeon later, and it's like, you know, this feels like Warcraft. I don't know that I want to say it's Warcraft back to form. I don't want to say it's the best it's ever been. I don't want to say it's missing something. I'm just a little confused. It feels like we're in the middle of an inflection point where we don't know where it's going to go yet, which is maybe a bad thing for launch week. I think on launch week you should be at peak excitement, right? So whatever. I want to know what you guys think of BFA 2. I want to see in your comments what your favorite beard style is for the stupid dwarves. Oh man, I really hate the dwarf hair. Why isn't the dwarf hair grass like the goats? They did this weird like metallic wire thing and they just all look gross. I'm gonna make an entirely hairless dwarf just so I don't have to look at it. I don't understand that design choice. It's so bad.